Right, welcome back, Giants fans, to the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. This episode, we are 66% British, 33% Irish, but as always, 100% Giants. Firstly, let's kind of apologise and address the kind of elephant in the room that it's been almost a month since we've had a show. That is my fault because we took 2 weeks off because I decided to go and sun myself up in Thailand. And then after that, we just had a logistical issue that kind of caused a scheduling conflict, basically, that just meant that we couldn't do last week. I didn't get back till late last week, and by the fact I went to bed at 8:30 on the Thursday, probably wouldn't have worked considering that's our go live time. However, as you can see, no Dan, no Shane, unfortunately, both unavailable. But I do have our Irish flavour with us in Kev. And then, as you can see, we also have Chris joined with us today. So, Kev, first show back in a while. We've both been saying about how much we're looking forward to this one. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Did you leave your tan at the airport on the way back or something? I mean, what's going on there? You look like you've been in Bognor for 2 weeks. But I mean, yeah, no, I'm really glad to get back on because this is the meat and potatoes now. This, like free agency's kicked off today improperly, and now we get to talk about things. And I've missed this. I've missed getting on. I mean, the WhatsApp group's wicked because you can kind of get your thoughts out there and have a discussion with lads. But this is what we're all about. Getting on here, talking about things, taking comments from the lads, and sort of like seeing where we're going because these next couple of days are massive for us. We won't going to be shopping in tier 1 free agents, but there's a lot of decent tier 2 free agents left that we can kind of build this team around.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of the get-go, isn't it, for the Giants season in 2025. Obviously, some moves have happened already. The Giants have made 2 moves, and that's it. However, it's been pretty busy kind of around, so we might have a chat about that as we go. As I've already said, we've drafted in Chris to help us this evening with us being 2-man down. Chris, obviously, you did a interview with us pre-season last year, and then partied with us quite a lot in Munich. Do you want to just introduce yourself to the listeners and give them a background on the Giants and then you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's great to join you guys. Been dying to get on this podcast for quite a while. So, I've been a Giants fan now for best part since 2007. I bleed blue now. So basically, as you guys know, I jump in and out of Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, as you call them now. So I'm heavily involved in some of the guys across the pond. Been in them today and like listening into what's going on throughout the NFL world and the Giants world as well. So love everything Giants, and massive. I love being in Munich. That was great fun. But we partied hard. Shame about the result, but I'm looking forward to this season really and seeing what we can do and whether we can get back on the train and get it rolling again.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult season. I think if you look at our schedule, I think we're all well aware of how difficult that's going to be. But this is where we start to build that roster and we pick up the players that are potentially going to help us over the sort of next, kind of 10 months, 11 months from now. So there's a lot to go through, and there's a lot to come. Obviously, it started off slow. We all know that. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. So not a lot we can kind of control there. And let's be honest. Officially, we're in the legal tampering period because obviously there's been illegal tampering that's going to be going on. That's why we've been able to announce deals with 5 minutes after the legal tampering went live for some reason. However, we can't sign anyone till Wednesday officially, so there's still plenty of time. There's a lot of people that have gone off the board, but there's still a lot out there. There's hundreds upon hundreds of players waiting for their opportunity. But there we go. Now, just before we begin, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, do get involved in the comments, like this video, subscribe if you aren't already, hit the notification bell. X streaming is not working because there's apparently a cyber attack or something, according to Elon Musk. So if you see me kind of looking away or looking down, I'm just kind of trying to promote the fact that X is down and try and get people over here, but also need to keep an eye on these deals because anything could happen. You know, we could get a signing while we're live. We could find out that yet more quarterbacks have disappeared off the board, which I'm just looking at now. And I saw Aaron Rodgers' face. No, there is nothing about Aaron Rodgers so far. Let's kind of get straight into it, I guess. So, you know, free agency started today at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. GMT because their daylight savings has gone ahead while we are still waiting for ours. And in the last few hours, there have been some interesting signings. There's obviously been some blockbuster trades as well. And the Giants have been, I don't think busy is the right word because we've signed 2 players, but, you know, the Giants have done things. Let's put it that way. Let's just round out a few of the re-signings that have been made. So Tommy DeVito is back in the building. He signed a 1-year deal worth $1.03 million. This contract has no guarantees, and thus, if Tommy is cut prior to the season, he costs nothing against the cap. So it is purely just a exclusive rights free agent kind of deal that gets him there. But chances are he might be the third string, unless we don't sign anyone, in which case he is the number 1 quarterback in the building right now, which is scary to think about. Long snapper Casey Kreiter, and friend of the pod, has signed another 1-year contract worth $1.422 million. The 34-year-old has been with the Giants since 2020, where he beat out Zach Diossi for the long snapper job. And he has been pretty much a solid addition with minimal mistakes, which is always something that's good. When you don't hear your long snapper's name being called, probably means he's doing an all right job. Timon Fox, like DeVito, was an exclusive rights free agent. He signed a new 1-year deal. His deal was also worth $1.03 million and has no guarantees. However, I would imagine for that kind of money, Timon Fox is probably going to stick around. He wasn't too bad last season. Was kind of serviceable. Veteran tight end Chris Manhertz, he is back as well. That was a surprising one, probably not one that was on many bingo cards. The 33-year-old was a solid blocking option last season at tight end and even caught a touchdown. You know, one of the 3 that he has in his career, which is interesting, seeing as he's been in the league for so long. And then finally, probably the biggest free agency deal has gone to Scottish punter Jamie Gillan, who has signed a 3-year deal, $9 million with $4 million of that guaranteed. Dan Duggan of The Athletic has said that the deal has cap hits of $2.1 million this year, 3.3 next year, and 3.5 in 2027. He can also earn up to $400K in incentives, factored around all Pro and Pro Bowl selections, which takes his overall deal up to around $10.2 million. The Giants can cut him after 2026 with just $667,000 dead cap hit. Kev, nothing that really, you know, tickles the fancies there, but some interesting depth pieces that are probably necessary.
Yeah, definitely. I think like these are sort of like your, you know, taking care of in-house business. Do you know what I mean? You know, you've got obvious deals like Timon Fox. You know, he's a sort of a back end of the roster guy, practice squad, 53-stroke practice squad type of player, can play, give you snaps at a pinch. You know, it's good to have a long snapper, Casey Kreiter, the king of the 1-year deals. I think this is like 5 or 6 with us now. You know, bring him back, like you said, you know, it's just a no-brainer signing there. I mean, Tommy DeVito's coming back and restricted or free agent, exclusive rights free agent. Sorry. So that's why he's got him for that deal, and he'll come in to be the 3rd QB. I mean, the Scottish Hammer gets a nice deal, nothing outrageous, you know, kind of like in line with sort of middle of the pack punters in the league, and he's kind of come in. He's had his little bit of his ups and downs, but to be honest, he's been serviceable more than he hasn't. So I'm sort of happy with that deal. So yeah, it's just a bit of like in-house taking care of business. You know, obvious sort of moves there. Chris Manhertz was a very good blocker last year. Good to see him come back. He had caught the odd pass as well, but he's never going to be a pass catching tight end in this league. But he's sort of that smaller, sick offensive lineman that we kind of need at the moment with our offensive line. So yeah, I mean, they're all like normal sort of like run of the mill type signings that we kind of need to fill out our 90-man roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing broke the bank really, did it? Chris, is there sort of anyone there that you, I mean, I say Chris Manhertz, I didn't think he'd be back. What did you feel like maybe the Giants could have moved on from Jamie Gillan this offseason? Or do you think it was worth keeping?
I mean, look, there was talk around the Bills punter maybe coming in as they released. I've forgotten his name off the top of my head, but there was talk around him coming in. I think with Jamie, look, he's been in the last few seasons with Gano and stuff like that. So I think right now it's probably the best prospect for him. I think he knows where he is. Bringing in someone else, I don't think it was probably the best idea. But there's a lot of controversy around Jamie Gillan. Is he a great punter? Is he that? I think he's been solid the last few years and stuff like that, and he's had to make a couple of changes, especially when Gano got injured last season. So we didn't have a kicker and he had to jump in. So I think right now, look, I'm happy with him, but let's see how it goes this season. If we have to release him, we have to release him. But a solid guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously myself and Dan were lucky enough to have an opportunity to speak to Jamie last season while we were in at the Baltimore game. And he was saying, how the last two special teams coaches, including Mike Gabriel, had really helped him with his confidence and he felt more comfortable at New York. And obviously it's an outdoor stadium, which brings its own challenges for punters and for kickers. But it's nice to see some consistency. And we had a brief chat with Casey over DM just before sort of we went on our break, and he said that he felt almost like a de facto European with all the guys that are in that special teams room with him. So it's obviously nice to see that core kind of kept together. I guess we should probably get into the biggest signing that we've had so far of the two. I think it's quite clear that Paulson Adebo is going to be our marquee signing for the time being until the quarterback position is sorted, or until the guard position gets filled. We've still got a gap at right guard there, but Giants deal with Paulson Adebo, $54 million over 3 years. He signs for $18 million per year over those three, with 36 of that guaranteed. Obviously, the specifics of the deal will come out once that's made official on Wednesday. That's probably when we're going to get into the kind of idea of how much the cap hit's going to be per year, whether we're going to have it out at any point, what the signing bonus is like as well. I mean, when you look at that $54 million over 3 years, it wouldn't surprise me if the signing bonus is probably around 12, 13 million. Spread that across the three, and then the rest of the contract comes on top of that. Impressive college career at Stanford University. He actually played with current Giant Bobby Okereke there. Redshirted his first year in 2017, but made an immediate impact in 2018, starting 12 of 13, recording 64 tackles and 4 interceptions. He was also named a first-team All-Pac-12 in that first year. He continued to excel in 2019, 33 tackles, 10 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and really stood out as one of the top defensive backs in college football coming into that year's draft. He was picked up by the Saints in the 3rd round in 2021, and as a rookie, almost established himself straight away as a reliable cornerback. He started all 17 games, had 3 interceptions. Last season, he suffered a broken femur against the Denver Broncos, but did play in 7 games, recording 3 interceptions and 10 passes defended, which is pretty impressive. And if you look at the bottom of the screen there, it's got his 2024 stats. Despite the fact he only played in 7 games, he allowed 34 receptions on 57 targets, 428 yards, the 1 touchdown, and like I said, 3 interceptions and 11 pass breakups. Kev, what was your kind of initial reaction? Because we knew that cornerback was going to be a big position of need for the Giants and a big focus. Obviously, we spoke about D.J Reed, Travarius Ward, Sante Jr. We had Byron Murphy Jr. But Adebo's the way we've gone, and I think he's only 25 as well, so he's on the younger side.
Yeah, definitely, he's on the younger side. He is a really good player. Like you'll notice as well. Like so you follow the Saints a little bit, but he's your typical man corner. He's 6'1", 195 pounds. He ran a 4.44 40. Try saying that 3 times.
That's a lot of fours.
Do you know what I mean? And he was that player because I thought like we wouldn't go after, like I said, the top tier cornerbacks in this free agency, but he was that second tier of cornerbacks. I was like, he can be a cornerback 1 in this league. He was unlucky with the injury last season. He broke his femur, but I think he's got all the skills and attributes to be a corner 1. Now, you're paying him 18 million per, which is probably a little bit. I kind of wanted to come in around 15. Like we talked in the chat during the day, like what would you sort of see him coming in at? And I said about 15. But let's face it, we're going to pay Giants sort of bottom of the league, picking 3rd overall tax. Do you mean that rubbish team tax? You're going to have to tag on another couple of million. But he says he wants to play in New York. He wants to play under the lights. He won't shy away from that. And I think, if all's well with his rehab, which seems to be with some of the videos out there, but, they'll get him into the building for a proper physical. And, I think he actually can be a number 1 cornerback in this league. Would he be top 5 or top 10? No. But I do believe he can be a solid starting quarterback 1 in this league, which then gives us the opportunity to move Banks to be CB2 because he was just picked on trying to be a CB1. I think there's still something there with him. And I think this move now, if Posa comes in and Adebo Posa comes in and B's the number 1 cornerback, I think it will allow Banks to shine in that number 2 role. So I'm really excited to see both of these play. Don't forget Drew Phillips in the nickel as well. I mean, suddenly the cornerback room looks a little bit different.
I think one thing that's really nice about Paul Adebo is he's quite a physical player. I know he gives away a lot of penalties because of it, but we almost need him to be aggressive. If there was one thing that we can say we saw Deonte Banks do last year, it was be maybe a bit soft. Whether that was scheme, whether that was himself, maybe I don't know what was going on there. But as a team, we almost felt a little soft in the backfield last year, and I just feel like Adebo will bring some aggression that we've maybe been missing. Chris, obviously you tend to be in the spaces, so you are well aware of everybody probably screaming around the fact of needing a corner. Joe Schoen said it on Hard Knocks last year and shot himself in the foot by not doing anything, and he's addressed it first this year. What are your initial thoughts then?
This guy's an absolute dog, is what I like to say. This is a great value signing. Adebo's ball skills and experience make him a really strong CB2 option for this defense. I think he'll definitely help strengthen the secondary after our struggles last season. A lot of people in the spaces before were singing his praises. I've watched a bit of tape on him as well, and he is aggressive, but we need that. We need that in that Giants. We need that culture of a player like this to fit in. He's going to be, he's got some great key stats as well. Like I was looking at it before, 76 tackles. 18 passes defended. I think he was 3rd in the NFL. So we've got someone that's going to fit nicely in and work around the rest of the guys. He's got a great attitude as well. A lot of people say that, especially from his college days. So I'm really looking forward to this guy getting stuck in, and he's going to add some depth and strength to our secondary next season.
Yeah, and if you kind of have a look at some of the PFF data on him, he played 90% of the Saints' defensive snaps over the past 3 seasons, and obviously the only snaps that he's really missed, or the chunk of snaps that he's missed, because he broke his leg. He had a grade last season of 63.3 when he was injured, and at the time was ranked 63rd out of 233 eligible cornerbacks, which isn't too bad. He's played 52 regular season games. He started 51 of them. So he's got the experience that we actually need, despite the fact that, like we said, he's 25 years old. So from an age standpoint, we've really lucked out here. Kev, what do you think his market would have been if he had played the whole season? Surely he would have broken that 20 mark.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he'd be in conversation for one of the best cornerbacks in free agency, and then you're talking about 20 to 20 plus per year. So to say we got him at a discount, I'm not sure, but I definitely think if he can be the player that we want him to be, then it's definitely money well spent. I mean, like 18 million for a starting CB1 is the going rate, if not, like, people are only going to sign contracts that are bigger than that. I mean, look at some of these crazy deals like the non-quarterbacks are getting at the moment. Like, it's absolutely mental. But I think coming in at 18, I think it could look, and I'll probably come to regret this now, but I think it'll look like a cheap contract in a year or two's time. And at 25, going on 26 when the season starts, I think he'll be looking for another contract, and it might be good to get him signed up early after a year or two.
Yeah. Obviously, last season we let Xavier McKinney go, who was kind of almost our ball hawk. We were hoping that Tyler Nubin would be that. Obviously, he got injured halfway through the season. He finished without an interception. The Giants finished the season with 5 players with 1 interception, and that was it. They were our leaders through the season. Adebo's got 10 interceptions in his career so far, and he excels at doing that, at taking the ball away. Is this something that you think maybe the Giants looked at, Chris, and thought, right, we're going to need, this is a kid who has plenty of playing time ahead of him, but already knows where the football is and is aggressive enough to go and get it?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, that addition brings experience and playmaking ability to the Giants secondary. But the one thing that concerns me is recovery from the 2024 injury will be pivotal to his performance in this upcoming season, because you might have seen already on X that the people are posting up his workouts and the way he's doing that at the moment, which is great to see, because you want to see a player that's in recovery, but also, getting back to work. So I think that, if he can stay healthy for this season, which I hope he will, then he could really, bring some absolute, carnage to our team and stop those, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries as well. So I think I'm happy that we got the signing. A lot of people have spoken about him, and I wasn't sure if we were going to get him today or we were going to even approach him, but it looks like Shane's done the right thing. We've got a cornerback now that can slot into this secondary against the other lads as well, and hopefully bring us some, can help in the later stages of the game and bringing us those results that we've seen that we've lost because of not having those defenders that are in that cornerback position, because balls have been going over the top, or we've just lost ground and not been able to cover those areas.
It was interesting that obviously last season, Kev, we were calling for Trey Hawkins to play, and he plays that one game, and he showed the aggression that we'd been missing, and obviously had probably one of the better cornerback performances we saw all last season after that. Do you think that with Adebo on one side, maybe Banks might have to fend off Trey Hawkins this season?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think if Trey Hawkins can, because it's weird to say he's been in the league a couple of years now, but he's still raw. He's still very raw. So although he'll have a good game like he did that we saw last season, he will make mental errors as well. Maybe another year in Shea Bowen's defense as well would be great for him. And it will be a real interesting battle to see who's going to be cornerback 2. If Hawkins comes back fighting fit, I don't know where he is with his injury at the moment. But if he comes back fighting fit, Banks isn't guaranteed. Banks has had 2 seasons of being guaranteed the number 1 cornerback in this team as a first round pick. That might not be guaranteed going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to fighting for his place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a comment here from online Big Blue Sports Entertainment. Broke femur is a very serious injury for a football player. Some players never recover. Most in the league saw him get 2 years, 20 minutes at most, with most money coming up front. We've obviously, as Chris alluded to, seen the workout video. I'd be quite happy if he never did a backflip again in a workout video. Please, please don't do that. Like, I'm more than happy to watch you run shuttle drills and, touch cones or whatever. But if that's the only backflip that you do until you get a pick six, then thank you very much. Keep that in the repertoire, but no, thank you. I don't want to see that all over X again. Obviously, there has been one other signing that we have made. I don't really want to get into that just yet because it's not exciting. It's not overly exciting. So what we'll do is we'll leave the graphic for Paulson and Devo up at the bottom, but we'll kind of pivot a little bit. It's been a while since we've obviously been on air. The last time was the week after the Super Bowl. And there was some big conversations, obviously, across the Combine week about a certain Matthew Stafford who ended up re-signing with the Rams. Obviously, since then, there's also been conversations around Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. We've seen Sam Darnold sign a 3-year contract today with the Seahawks worth over $100 million. We've seen Justin Fields sign a 2-year, $40 million contract with the Jets. Kev, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, first of all, on the whole Stafford situation and how that kind of played out. And then with kind of, with Fields in New York at the Jets, and then you look across at Seattle and they've now picked up Darnold. You've got Rodgers, you've got Wilson, and then after that, we're kind of bargain basement of the QB, of the top tier QBs. What are your thoughts on like everything that's happened so far?
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that we're kind of being used for leverage with a lot of these deals. I mean, the Stafford one was very much a case of the Rams wanted to keep him, he wanted to stay, but they didn't know, they couldn't come to agreement on money and how they would sort of structure his contract going forward for the next couple of years. So they said to him, go out and see what the market was, and apparently the Giants met the draft compensation for him and met the money that they wanted to give him as well, that he wanted. He took that back, and the Rams said, okay, we'll give you something close to that. We won't go up as high as that. And he was happy to stay there. And now, with all the dominoes falling, Darnold's gone to Seahawks, which I think is a very shrewd move by them. I think Darnold will actually do quite well over there with Kubiak, who he played under at 49ers as well. So I think, that could be a good move by the Seahawks there. And obviously the dominoes fall, like who goes where. I mean, but let's be honest about what position are we in? We want to draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft, but we believe that we need a veteran quarterback to play for a year and let the rookie sit. Now, that's not an attractive option to someone like Justin Fields, someone like a Sam Darnold. These type of players who want to go in and are young enough to have a career, a 10-year career wherever they go. So then you're kind of left with players who kind of have things to prove. Now, Aaron Rodgers, everyone talked about, would sort of like pivoted to Aaron Rodgers. We pivoted and he's, he lives in New York, he doesn't really want to move. And I think there was genuine interest between the Giants and the Rodgers. But then someone like the Steelers comes in now with Justin Fields going to New York. And Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson at the moment. And the Steelers are a playoff team who have just signed one of the best receivers in the league. Now, as good as Neighbors is, our roster is nowhere near what the Steelers roster is. So Rodgers must be looking at that going, right, I've got Giants here, and I have a nice little deal here that I can go to. I say nice little deal, but it's not little. And he's using that to the Steelers, and I think they're still trying to negotiate and stuff like that. But then the Steelers are playing hardball because they know they have Russell Wilson to fall back on. And Wilson's always wanted to play in New York. So it's a real sort of like domino effect and playing like chicken with teams and players and stuff like that. And there's rumors coming out now the Titans want to do exactly what we want to do. They want to draft Cam Ward, but they want him to sit for a year and learn in the NFL. So they want Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson to come in and be that mentor and that sort of vet quarterback to go for the year. Now, if it falls that way, is it like the doomsday scenario? If Russell Wilson goes to the Titans, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers, are we suddenly looking at Mac Jones, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston? Like, are these the type of like quarterbacks we're looking at to come in and start for a season. Part of me now thinks, right, let's just bring someone in, but I want a rookie QB to sort of get them out, dislodge them from the starting position as soon as possible. But again, the Browns love Shedeur Sanders. People say they have him as number one on their draft board above Cam Ward. The Titans love Cam Ward. So the only way the Titans are going to move off Cam Ward is if we offer the everything. If we offer the fucking everything and kitchen sink and everything like that, which we shouldn't do. We shouldn't mortgage the future. But if you believe he's a quarterback, what do you do? These things, like, it's so frustrating. We're in such a bad position at the moment because we don't have a quarterback take us forward, and it looks like we won't get one of the two top quarterbacks in the draft. So where do we pivot to then? It's a really challenging time for Sheehan right now. I mean, again, like doomsday scenario, you bring in someone like a Marcus Mariota and then overdraft someone like Jackson Dart at 3. And I mean, what would the optics look like if we had to go down that road for Joe Sheehan and Brian Dable?
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, Neil put it up there. You know, would you look at Winston if Wilson and Rodgers signs for other teams? I've just seen somebody on X say we're going to end up with Flacco. There's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot to unpack. We're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers to make his decision, Russell Wilson to make his decision. Chris, how ironic is it that, in a way, Daniel Jones holds the future for us at quarterback yet again?
There is no way that guy's coming back in the building. There's no way. There's people already commenting on X going, bring him home and all this kind of stuff, but we've just got rid of the guy. Do you know what I mean? It ain't going to fix anything. But, you know, I think with him right now, obviously he's at the Vikings, whether they want to keep him on, or will there be a better position for him at the Colts going forward? Because then he can give some kind of, against that Anthony Richardson, who the Colts don't really know what's going on with him at the moment. Is he going to be competitive with him? So there's lots of things to unpack with that sort of situation, but there's no way that I want Daniel Jones back anywhere near this franchise.
So what about Jameis Winston? I mean, to me, Jameis Winston doesn't make us a winnable team looking at the season. He also doesn't really strike me as potentially being the person you want to mentor your future quarterback. But there's a little part of me that thinks it might just be a little bit fun.
I mean, look, with Jameis Winston, he's got a great character. We've all seen him. We've seen what he did at the Browns. You know, he's egging everyone. He's funny. He's witty and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we need a product on the field that can do something. Will he be a gap filler right now? Probably would. And with the way everything's going right now, as we're seeing everything unfolding within the NFL world, with when X does work, is that I can see right now is that, look, Aaron Rodgers is I cannot see him coming to us. I think he would be a better part of the Steelers, and the reason why is because he's got the weapons straight away. As Kev pointed out, DK Metcalf's going there. It is a team that's probably going to go to the Super Bowl, could go to the Super Bowl potentially. So we're now on the back foot. And the reason why we're on the back foot is probably because of where we're positioned. The NFC East is not going to be an easy division. You've got the likes of the Washington Commanders. You've got the Eagles who just come off a Super Bowl win. You know, the Cowboys don't even know what they're doing, as we know. And we're on that middle part of tier. So how do we get out of this, you know, shit situation that we're currently in? So Jameis Winston might be a person that can come into the Giants organization right now. He's got good culture. He will, you know, he'll ball out. He'll make some mistakes, don't get me wrong. But then if we do draft a quarterback prospect, depending on if we do move up, I think we should try and go for that number one position and trade up. I can't see the Titans moving. If not, we take someone at 3, and then maybe another. What I was thinking is we draft back in into the first round somehow. But what are we giving up to get the quarterback that we need?
I mean, like the Jameis Winston thing, like I don't want him as a quarterback because he's so erratic. But it would be It would be fun. I mean, you'd be sitting there with your mates, right? Non-Giants fans, friends, and they'd be going like, "God, Jamin Woods is a bit shit," and you'd be like, "Yeah, no." It would just be. It would be the shittest fun ever. Like, do you know what I mean? Or the funnest shit ever, maybe. Don't know how to word that, but like, you'd have a laugh, and he'd push the ball down the field. There'd be none of this thinking and dunking carry on. Like, you know,
That's over doubt.
he'd be firing it down there. You know, contested catches galore. But yeah, it's such a difficult situation for a GM and head coach to be in when they're on the hot seat.
Mm.
Do you mean it's almost like they go to ownership? We try to get Stafford. We try to get Rodgers in. We're trying to get Wilson in. You know, we're trying to get a Super Bowl winning quarterback on this roster to try and help this team move forward. But if it doesn't happen, like, where do they turn then? Because if they bring someone like Winston in and sit a rookie quarterback for a year, do they get next season again? Do they, or are they gone at the end of this season?
I mean, that's the scary proposition, I guess, for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, is as they see these quarterbacks disappear, their opportunity to turn around to ownership and say, "Hey, look, I've been stuck in a shit situation with a quarterback who is either not good enough to play for other teams but is still young, or is a veteran that's erratic and is a journeyman, but I still want to stick around because I'm going to draft Jackson Dart or, you know, Jaden Milroe or Quinn Ewers or one of the other quarterbacks in the later rounds." Really, it counts against them in the fact that they haven't taken a shot at a quarterback in a draft, not an undrafted rookie free agent like Tommy DeVito, but in a draft since they've been in the building. You know, we're going into their fourth draft now, and this is potentially going to be the first time that we're going to be picking a quarterback in a draftable round. And I think that that's really kind of a damning thing against them, in the fact that they haven't kind of had that contingency plan, and they've now backed themselves into a corner where, let's be honest, they didn't even control their own destiny, and they're a little bit fucked right now. They really are.
But what a win for the culture it was against the Colts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as Holty said, damn that bloody Colts win.
That Colts win, literally. I mean, obviously, with what Mara said, is that, you know, you go out there and win and stuff like that. You don't tank. But with the way we needed that number one pick, we needed that, and now we pushed ourselves out. And if the Browns do go for Sanders, which it's most looking likely, you know, we're waiting to see what happens with the Titans if they do decide to go for Wilson or someone else. But they're probably a prospect that they're hungry for a quarterback. Cam Ward most likely to go. And you had on ESPN, you had Dan Orlovsky saying that why would the Titans move out of that number one spot? Why? What would give them a reason to? Unless they were going for the likes of Carter or Hunter, maybe to fill a gap and going in for someone else, maybe like a rookie, a veteran quarterback. That hasn't happened. I think the Titans will stay at number one. I don't think the Browns move out, and we'll be picking at three with whoever we decide to go with. Do I think Jackson Dart is a good prospect? There's been a lot of talk around it. We've seen the tape. A lot of people are putting on his last sort of game against the Florida Gators, which he did okay at. His footwork needs some work, but again, that's not a bad thing. I think another thing that stood out to me in the combine as well was Will Howard. A lot, you know, again, he won the night. He won a national championship. Okay, he had an amazing offensive line that protected him with the ball and stuff like that. But he had a rough combine. We all know that. There's no doubt that, you know, let's not overreact. But, you know, he's still got tools, and he's a mid-round quarterback. And I hear a lot of people talking about him, saying he's probably one of the you know, a good prospect to have, his build. So I don't know if we struggle to get a veteran and we have to draft a rookie quarterback. Maybe there's potential in looking at Will Howard. I don't know, but we are in a desperate position right now, as you can see with what's going on within the last couple of hours.
Yeah, because I said, just to touch on one of your points there, Chris, we talked last year, didn't we, about because the Giants were obviously trying to move up for Daniels or May. And I said last year, it'd worry me if the teams that were picking those players moved off them, actually took a deal, and means that they didn't like them. They stood there, picked them, and they've been brilliant. So the kind of same with Cam Ward. It's like, if Cam Ward is the player we think he is and we hope he is to move up for him, why would the Titans give that up when they don't have a recognized young QB of the future? So I can't see us making that deal unless it's stupid, which includes next year's first round pick and more, which I don't know if I want to give up, to be honest. Now, I do like your idea as well, Chris. Like, if we sign a Mariota or, a Jameis Winston or a placeholder like that, then there is really intriguing options. And we'll get into it like in the next few weeks. But that second round, again, like you said, Chris, moving from 30, 34, whatever it is, up into the first round. I mean, if you look at someone like a Jalen Milroe to develop, like he's got raw tools there. Your Will Howard, your Tyler Shocks as well. Tyler Shock could come in and he could start, I think, in this league. He's played 7 years at college. He was at college for 7 years. The guy's 25, so he's experienced. He's got the reps already in him, and I think he can play at an NFL caliber level. But to get back to sort of the point, they either have to go big, which they said they wouldn't do, or they have to play it really conservative and speak to John Mara and ownership and say, look at the situation we're in. Do we have 2026? Let us know, because we can't get 500 in this season, the way things have sort of panned out with free agency.
Right. Let's talk about our second signing, because there hasn't been any other signings, despite my want, need, and constant refreshing of Twitter. So the second deal that we have made is Roy Robertson Harris, to which my first response was, who? Was very much who. He has signed a 2-year deal worth up to $10 million. He played 17 games last season for the Jags and the Seahawks, and finished 2024 with 20 combined tackles and 2 sacks. Now, if we go back and have a look at his college and how that went, or his time in college, he was at UTEP, so University of Texas, El Paso, and played there for 4 seasons, recording 138 tackles, 25 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, and 9 batted passes, I guess. He saw gained recognition for his ability to disrupt plays and pressure opposing quarterbacks. He went undrafted in 2016 and then signed with the Bears as an undrafted rookie free agent, where he spent the first 4 years. 2021, he joined the Jags on a 3-year contract and became a key part of their defensive line. Delivered solid performances across those 3 seasons, including a career-high 45 tackles and 3 sacks in 2022. He started last season with the Jags, played 6 games before he was traded to the Seahawks. Despite the fact that it was a mid-season move, he still managed to sort of contribute effectively to the Seahawks game. And like I said, finished with 20 combined tackles and 2 sacks across 17 games. He hasn't put up crazy numbers, I wouldn't say. And I don't think you're looking at our DT2 here. But I would maybe say that this is the kind of move where maybe the front office have looked at it and gone, if we go into a sort of like a 3 tech and go for a DT3, this is where he would jump in. And with a draft, Kev, as you have well documented, and Shane, that is deep at defensive tackle this upcoming season, maybe that's the way they're looking, in the fact that they can get their DT2 in the draft, and maybe Robertson Harris is our DT3. I'm assuming, Kev, that you were the same as me and had no idea who this guy was until you looked him up.
No, absolutely not. And see, the thing with free agency, right? Because I've been working today, I've been mad busy. And I was like, one day I don't want to be busy. Do you know what I mean? I want to be able to just casually scroll through social media and look at all the wonderful signings that we were going to make, but that wasn't to be the case. But like, so kind of like looking at the come in, like the Pulse and the Adebo one was like fantastic, you know, ticks the boxes, makes so much sense. I saw this one, did a bit of digging, and was like, okay, we're massive need of an interior defensive lineman number 2. He isn't it. He isn't even close to it. But what he can do is come in and take reps away from the starters. I mean, you know, everywhere he's gone, he's sort of contributed and done all right. And if you look at the contract as well, the contracts, I think it's actually like 2 years, 9 million, $1 million of incentives. And I want to see the guaranteed money, because I wouldn't be surprised if the guaranteed money is like 5 or 6, something like that. You know, like it could be a deal you can get out of after one season. And what did we complain about last year? And then I sort of took a breath and I thought, what did we complain about last year? The absolute lack of depth in this team. Like throughout the whole roster, we didn't have any depth. But this sign-in is exactly that. It's a depth sign-in. You kind of wish, though, you know, like naively as a fan, you know, we come in here and we talk about stuff like that, but we're not experts. We're still fans who just chat a bit of shite, you know. And it's like, this is the kind of like roster filler move we want to do next week. Do you know what I mean? We want to do next week. We want the big sort of shiny starters this week is what we want. That's what we want today. But if you take a step back and think like rosters across the league have these type of guys in there on these type of contracts. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, Grant, you know, a bit of depth to the interior defensive line room. Right, we move on now and negotiate. And they're negotiating behind the scenes with so many players. I understand that. But yeah, I mean, it's not sexy, no, but it's definitely needed.
Chris, you obviously look are pulling faces, and you know, you probably very much like us didn't really know who this guy is. When you kind of look into his numbers, it's not overly inspiring, but is what Kev's saying right? Is it purely that we were that bad at depth? I mean, we do have a lot of defensive tackles on the roster already.
Yeah, look, it wasn't my go-to guy. I am aware of him because I've got friends that Seahawks fans, so you can imagine we've just signed him. So I've been getting a lot of people messaging me about it, but on my list, I think, which was all on our list, was Grady Jarrett, but he's now gone to the he's released by the Falcons and he's gone to the Bears, right? Like, that is a hell of a deal. And that's someone that I would be looking at to sit next to Dexy and be an impactful player. Now, I'm not saying that Roy Robertson Harris isn't that impactful player. He's a reliable veteran. He has presence on the D-line. He's a strong run defender, but he'll also add a little bit of depth alongside Dexter Lawrence. He can still, from what I've seen on his tape, generate interior pressure. I think he averaged around about 3 sacks per year average, which isn't it's not the greatest numbers in the world, but it you know, it's still there. I think, look, it's a solid depth move. It won't be a game changer, but I think it brings veteran experience to and you know, rational stability to our defensive front, which we kind of need. But I would have liked to see, you know, my top prospect was Grady Jarrett, but maybe we couldn't get there.
Kev, here's an interesting point that I've just seen Patricia Traynor make on Twitter. Does this signal the end of Nacho's career with the Giants?
Yeah, I think it might do, actually. You know, we said he's a bit of a cap casualty anyway, before the signing. He was kind of brought in to be like it was a weird one. It was almost to be like a fringe starter, as in sort of like a starter, but sort of good backup and stuff like that. And he's kind of not really been either, if I'm honest. I still believe we need a defensive tackle. And like you said, me and Shane have started to look at the interior line. And I still believe you can get a person who can help you start on round 4, round 5, you know, the third day of the draft. Like, so deep. So there are players there. Just got to be careful you don't miss on the run, and when there's an inevitable run of defensive tackles, and then you end up picking the end of the run. You don't want to do that. But there's definitely players there to be had. There's also players in free agency to be had that can come in and plug the gap. I mean, like a lot of people weren't overly excited, but I thought Ashawn Robinson did a fantastic job when he was in starting with us. You know what I mean? So the free agency's not over yet. You know, it's only been a couple of hours. We've got a lot of time left to pick up someone decent. You know, and we'll talk about other free agents as we go along, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Nacho, he came in. He was a good guy, and everyone like sort of loved his enthusiasm, and like he seemed like great crack. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, his production in the field, you know, just wasn't good enough for me.
And obviously, remember, Roy Robertson Harris was released last week by Seattle. Now, because he was released last week, his signing is actually confirmed. There's already a video of him in the building doing the usual selfie style bollocks. I haven't listened to it, but I can't imagine it's more than, hey, how are you? This is me. I'm here. Can't wait. Love you, miss you, all that kind of lovely stuff that there always is. The Adebo
it's so
one,
weird that though, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt. Like, it's so weird that like a guy gets cut yesterday and then suddenly he can sign straight away. Like, but everyone else has to wait the free agency rules and stuff.
Yeah. So it's all down to the contract expiry, isn't it? Despite the fact that they're actually not being paid, they only get paid, you know, when they play games. I'm just having a look at PFF's best available rankings. Javon Holland, safety, still sitting up there, number one. Obviously, a position of need for the Giants. I think, Kev, both of us have waxed lyrical about how much we would love to see Javon Holland in Giants blue. After that, you've got Hufanga, but I think he is about to sign with the Broncos. I don't think that's been officially confirmed yet. Is it? No, actually, no, it's not Hufanga. It's one of the other guys who's signed with the Broncos.
No, it is Hufanga. Yeah, he's been heavily linked anyway. He's been heavily linked.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then after that, you look down for the safety, and the next one you're looking at is Justin Reed at number 33 on the list, and then Harrison Smith at 37. All players who could probably still do a job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some really interesting safeties. I mean, Harrison Smith, you know, as a box safety, I think, talk about leadership. When we're lacking a bit of leadership, we're very, very young. Someone like Harrison Smith coming in, you know, and it's not just because he went to Notre Dame before you all start. Okay? But like someone who's been a Pro Bowler nearly every single year, has been in the league, you know, someone like that coming in, just to give a bit of veteran leadership to that sort of DB room would be phenomenal. I mean, like I said, Justin Reed, you know, Julian Blackman, the Colts, Will Harris for the Saints, I thought is serviceable. Justin Simmons as well. It's a real interest in, I mean, like Jordan Poyer. There's some really interesting sort of like safeties that could come in, because at the end of the day, we've only got Newman as a starter, because obviously Pinnock is still out there. You know, I'd like to see Pinnock back, but I'd like Pinnock to come back as a third safety and not a starter.
And Chris, if we have a look at the comments, Jamie's put in one saying, you know, Stefan Diggs wouldn't mind another wide receiver to come in. Stefan Diggs is currently the fourth highest free agent available, the second highest wide receiver behind Amari Cooper. And then you look down, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, Darius Slayton, Keenan Allen. Obviously, we saw Josh Palmer go to the Chargers earlier as well. I think that was one that we all had our eye on. Out of the wide receivers that are left, who are you looking at for coming in at wide receiver 2?
I mean, Hopkins stands out to me. I think of his talent and his ball skills. Just the way he gets out of his breaks quite quick. His route running, I think he could be a potential sort of fit for us because of his knowledge as well. The culture that you bring in and his experience into the Giants wide receiver room would be clinical. I think he'd be like him and Dable. I could see probably getting on really well, and obviously I think he could nurture Malik Davis a lot more. I mean, not saying that Malik Davis needs it, but if you look at the way Hopkins was, you know, going through his career, he's been phenomenal. Who else did you say was on that list as well? There's another one. So you got Hopkins.
You got Amari Cooper, you got Stefan Diggs, and then after that you got Slayton, Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean Keenan Allen as well, but I mean Stephon Diggs. I mean he's been with. I think he's been with the Brian Dable before, right? He's at Buffalo. So
Yeah.
again, another. Although he can have those outbreaks and stuff like that, but he just wants the ball. He's like any wide receiver. He's eager, but he's a playmaker. He could finish games easily for us. You know, in those latter thirds of the fourth quarter or anything like that, we're screaming for something to happen. It'll open up neighbors as well. Again, what something like Hopkins will do, and giving them that amount of space when if we do bring in a veteran quarterback, or maybe we do get the quarterback we want, where they're getting the ball, airing it out downfield, which we've got to do more. We all know that. Then maybe someone like Stephon Diggs, if we can afford to pay him or whatever like that, could be another good fit. Amari Cooper, listen, I've always been a big fan of Amari Cooper. He's got great attitude as well. Another guy that could fit culturally well, experienced. But out of those top three, and obviously you've got Keenan Allen as well, who I've got a lot of respect for. I do love Keenan Allen. Who would be the best prospect right now for the Giants? I'd say it probably Stephon Diggs and Hopkins would be the ones I would go for if they're there on the table. But again, it's coming to New York. Do they want to play under the bright lights of New York? Can they see themselves finishing their career there, or do they go somewhere else? This is the hardest thing that we've spoke about right now. Is the Giants aren't in a position where players ultimately want to go to because of where we're at. We're not a Super Bowl contender. We probably might even get a sniff at the playoffs if we're lucky. And do players want to come here? That's the biggest question.
Kev, Jamie brings up a good point, and I'll probably go to both of you on this one. Kyler Murray's name keeps popping up on some people's tweets as being potentially available. Would you want Kyler Murray? I'm very, very mixed on this. I'm not sure if I'm sold by it.
That wouldn't be you sitting on the fence there, Craig, would it?
A shocker, right? Captain Splinters himself.
Well, Joe Schoen did say that they would explore all options, draft, free agency, and trade scenarios. Is there something like, again, it comes down to the thing. Yes, I would be interested because I think he's a playmaker. I think he can make things happen. I think Dable would be able to get the best out of him. Is he absolutely tiny and a really small man? Yes, he is. But, I think, he'd play well. Draft compensation. What are we talking about to get him? Because I'm not giving up the third overall pick for him. Right? So are you giving up 34? Are you giving up a couple of threes? And for me, it would come down to draft compensation. Would I like him on the team? Yes. And I think it's a very tradable contract as well. I'd have to have a quick look, but I think it's a very, easy contract for them to trade and us to take in. So the answer is yes, I would like it, but it would all come down to draft compensation.
Chris, what are your thoughts on Kyler Murray?
Absolutely not. No. Durability concerns. He's missed games due to injuries, including he tore his ACL in 2022. His size, he's 5'10", he's 207 pounds, raises concerns along, long-term durability in the NFL. His inconsistent decision-making, he can struggle reading defenses, which is obviously a big problem, which I've noticed in games when he's, in the last stages, particularly against complex coverages. Terrible. He struggles in a structured offense as well. So he's best when he's improvising. Like we all know, he will get on the run or something like that. But he's not effective in time-based pocket passing offenses. I'll get my words out. It's quite difficult to say that one. But like we've only just got a pocket back. We didn't have that for the last few seasons. So like watching him struggle, and he'll get annihilated by the likes of the Eagles or the Commanders, especially with what they are. His size and his vision issues, obviously, as I said, he's 5'10". He struggles to oversee the offensive line. I mean, if you've got the likes of Jalen Carter running at you, you've got Micah Parsons and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have a tough time in New York. And then his contract and salary impact. So you've got I think he signed a $230.5 million contract through 2028, which makes him a huge financial commitment for any team. Can we see that right now? what it's significant cap implications for us. For me, it's a no-no.
Are you boys ready for the strangest trade I think I've seen all day?
Oh, God.
That potentially could impact the top of the draft. Probably not massively, but it could. The Browns are acquiring quarterback Kenny Pickett from the Eagles in exchange for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 2024 fifth-round pick. Is
Wow.
that up there with one of the weirdest trades you've ever seen?
I mean, I'll jump on this first, Kevin, if you don't mind. I was not expecting to see Kenny Pickett go into the Browns at all. I mean, it's literally as you were talking, it's come up on my feed, and I'm baffled by it. I don't know what your thoughts are, Kev.
Well, I find it very strange that they can trade a 2024 fifth-round pick, considering that draft's already happened.
That is true. That is exactly what Ian Rappaport says. His 2024 fifth-round pick.
It's an interesting one. I mean, the Browns are in such a weird position in the sense that Watson contract is an albatross around their neck. It's absolutely horrendous deal. That's why people were worried about giving fully guaranteed contracts. Well, that won't happen. That won't happen after that trade went through. But the thing is, they're stuck with him now for a couple of years, so they can't move him, they can't trade him, they can't do anything with him, they can't cut him, can't do anything with him. So it makes no difference whether they kind of bring in a rookie or not, because he will just be an expensive backup. This is interesting though, because do you carry 3 quarterbacks if you draft 1 or 2? I mean, or do they push the can down the road? Do they go, okay, we'll take best player available, Carter, Hunter, whatever, and see what we've got in Pickett with an expensive backup in Watson, and then do we kick the can down the road and go, all right, then we will see what Kenny's got, and if he hasn't got much, then we'll go quarterback in the 2026 draft. It's interesting. We need to dissect it a little bit.
It's honestly, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts about him were when he came on for the Eagles for Jalen Hurts. I mean, he didn't have a bad game. I know they've got Tanner McKee there. Obviously, he's impressed the Eagles, which is Mike Garafolo is just saying at the moment. But it is where does that put us in position now? Are they going to take a quarterback? Are they going to go for, I think it's Carter or either? Could they go for Travis Hunter now? I don't know. Are they looking for ball makers? Or are they still going to get that quarterback? We also don't know what's happened with, with their current quarterback at the moment, and I don't know why I've forgotten his name.
Well, Watson is out for the whole season. He's injured for the whole season.
Yeah, so they've got to. This is where they've got to kind of manage those expectations, haven't they? I don't know. It's. I wasn't expecting this, but it's interesting.
Maybe it is a case of they were going to draft Sanders at 2, and Kenny Pickett isn't too dissimilar to Sanders in the way they play, but Sanders, in my opinion, is a far superior quarterback. But this could be a trade exactly as it seems. Watson's out for the full season; he won't play in 2025. Kenny Pickett is your starter day 1 with the rookie quarterback sitting behind him.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to obviously they gave Myles Garrett a huge considerable amount of, he got his bag, let's say. So they must have had a conversation with him. He must have, because he was on his way out, right? And they must have had a conversation with him, with the general manager and whoever else, saying that, look, we're looking at a quarterback prospect. We want to keep you here because he's done a massive 360. They're in no way, shape, or form to be challenging for a Super Bowl right now, or even to the playoffs. They're in a similar position to us. However, they've got, they might have a bit more good pieces on the defensive line, but they've told him that they're looking at a prospect like Kenny Pickett and they're going to build around the quarterback, or are they going to take someone else? I don't know. But this is very strange from the Browns. The Browns are doing strange things right now.
Well,
Browns doing Browns things.
Yeah, their other quarterback on the roster is Bailey Zappi. So,
Zip the ball, Zappi.
Yeah. Kev, the only other position really that we're focusing on, I guess, as being a position of need is that right guard position. Will Freeze is probably the standout there. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I like Will Freeze a lot. I mean, I like Tevin Jenkins as well from the Bears. I think like he could come in and do a job there. There's a couple of players I quite like. I mean, Dalton Reisner, James Daniels from the Steelers. I mean, even our boy Kevin Zeitler has played phenomenally well for the Detroit Lions. Do you bring him in, slot him at right guard? So yeah, I mean, but Will Freeze was kind of the one that stands out for me, as in sort of that. Well, he's posting the Debo of the guards, isn't he? I mean, he picked up quite a bad injury last season. He's very, very young, and he was showing great potential until he got that injury. I think he could be an excellent guard in the league, but he has to kind of prove it. Kind of surprised he hasn't been linked with more teams, to be honest.
Chris, what were your thoughts on the comment there that Evan Neal is the right guard? I'm not saying he's the right guard, but he should play right guard.
I mean, look, bless the guy, right? Because he's had such a terrible time at the Giants. Was he a boom or was he a bust? He's definitely been a bust so far for us right now. Moving into that guard position is probably the best sort of solution for him right now. We've seen him play in his other positions and he hasn't capitalized on those. He had a terrible season last year. So will that change things? Possibly. I don't know. It's a hard decision. I would probably look to the draft maybe for other prospects on the likes of filling that position. Maybe you've got Tyler Booker from Alabama. You've got Grace Abel from North Dakota State as well, which are other prospects coming through. Can we grab someone like that if they're there? I don't know, but it's do or die time for Evan Neal. I'm afraid. Yeah, that's where I'm at with him, and I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm getting really annoyed. There's quarterback moves happening, but they're not the ones that we really want to happen right now. Josh Dobbs has just signed a 2-year deal with the Patriots, which could mean that Joe Milton could be available, maybe.
I mean, you'd kick the tires on Joe Milton, wouldn't you?
He looked all right, didn't he, last season?
He definitely had his moments. Like he done them out of the first overall pick, didn't he?
It was that one game, wasn't it? Really, that where he sat up. But the way he was in his stance and stuff, his dropbacks were pretty decent. There's a lot of praise about him. Like he seems like a decent quarterback, but yeah, it's definitely one to watch.
But just go back there, Craig, quickly to talk about Evan Neal. I mean, he's got 1 year left in his contract. You know, he's going into the final year. He's not getting his 5th-year option exercised. So it's a weird situation. You bring in a long-term guard that he won't beat out because he's only moving the guard now, or do you go for someone like a Zeitler who is on his not last legs, but you know he's a bit more older, like, and he's not going to sign a 3, 4, 5-year deal, and then let Evan Neal sort of stay behind him and learn from him and compete with him, that maybe he gets a chance at a contract from the Giants. But then would he want to stay with the Giants after the 4 years? Like the Evan Neal thing is, they should have moved him last season. They should have moved him there last year, and they didn't. And he will leave at the end of the year. Someone will pay small money for him to be a 1-year prove-it deal. He'll play a guard, and he'll probably end up being a very good guard for someone else.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, God.
Mackay Becton's out there as well, lads, don't forget.
Look, let me just touch on this last point about Neal. He's been a liability in his pass protection. Like, and unless his footwork improves, which he needs to do, he won't be a long-term solution at tackle or anything like that. Injuries aside, his technique hasn't developed in the way that the Giants have hoped. Does he have a future at right tackle, or should he be moved inside? It's just hard to tell until we start seeing that kind of production on the field. If the Giants want to fix the O-line, we know that they need to, strongly consider drafting a new tackle and possibly shifting. And if they do, doing that and then shifting Neal to guard, or either basically bringing another guard in. I just don't know. I'm done with him. If in my eyes, I don't know whether you guys feel differently, but that's where I'm at. I'm sick and sight of the lad, if I'm going to be honest with you. and I would prefer it if we, maybe pushed him back, let's see how he gets on. But if it isn't working out, we've got to have a solution to take him out pretty quickly and put someone else in.
I mean, interestingly, Mayo has said, it's a complete different game.
It is
at guard. Obviously, Mayo has played on the offensive line over here for a team in the UK. So it might be interesting. Maybe we'll get Mayo on in next week or a couple of weeks' time. Have a chat about that. I think that's an interesting kind of wrinkle. Kev, Adebo. I'm just going to change the bottom bit down back to Adebo. So we've got a 3-year deal worth 54 million. Obviously, we've now seen the contract side there. Javarius Ward has just signed with the Colts, 3 years, 60 million, 35 guaranteed, 20 signing bonus. Does that change your thought prospect on the deal that we've signed with Adebo? Looking at that.
No, not really, because I think Adebo sort of meets the thresholds, and he's the type of player that the Giants targeted. I think he was one of the ones that they negotiated with first. Like, they were in with Ward, and they were talking to other cornerbacks. But I do kind of think that he ticks the boxes that they want going forward, and they believe that he'll come back from the injury stronger, healthy. And he'll be the cornerback they're going to be. I mean, $2 million a year. But again, you don't know what Ward wanted from the Giants because they're the Giants. So it might have been a case that he was like, well, give me 25. But he's taking 20 to go to the Colts. We don't know that. I mean, it's just me speculating. But I do think on actual production and projection, because that's what this is projection. We're going to project how these players are going to be going forward. Then I think they're close, and the Giants might have, as projection, they might have Adebo just ahead of Ward.
So I'm just going to kind of pivot away from free agency, just to have a chat about something that I saw on X sort of during the combine as it came out afterwards. And that's talking about sort of Bobby Okereke and the fact that his roster spot potentially is a threat. So rumours at the combine that he could be a surprise cut. Cutting him would cost 10.9 million in dead cap, but would free up 3.5 in 2025 and 9 million in 2026. The end of this week, March 14th, is kind of the key date because he's due a 3 million roster bonus if he's still on that roster. Personally, I don't think I'm not a fan of potentially cutting him. You look at that dead money, you're freeing up 3.5. Are you going to be able to replace him for 3.5 million? Is the way that I always look at this. Yes, there's the 9 million in 2026, but I don't think that 9 million really changes too much if he's going to be on the roster this year. Chris, what are your thoughts on Bobby O? Because he had such a good first season under Wink Martindale, and obviously Wink leaves after that first season. We bring in Shane Bowen. Bobby came out and said, he didn't say he wasn't a good fit, but he said that, it takes a few weeks to get used to a brand new scheme, and that's why it didn't work. And then, a few weeks later, he ends up on IR, season ending. Are you keeping Bobby around, or is this, or do you kind of see where maybe some of the doubt comes from?
If there's no strong replacement for Bobby, cutting him makes little sense to me. I think a trade before the 14th is ideal for the front office if they're ready to move on. To be honest, I think we could do with him for another year. I think he led in tackles in 2023. There's no real clear replacement at middle linebacker at the moment, and dead cap hit, it makes cutting him questionable. That's the only thing I can think of right now. I know moving on, declining performances, finished year on IR, trading him before the 14th just to avoid dead cap hit. We could free up. I think it is around about 9 million for the 2026 cap flexibility, but I don't really see the point, and in cutting him makes little sense to me right now.
Kev, obviously, we've all been big proponents of Bobby O and keeping him around. He's a captain as well. Do you think that this potentially is another one of those ones where if Joe Schoen was to cut him, it could be a negative effect on the locker room, kind of in the same way that the McLeod cut was?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But I read this and I was like, I don't get it. He had a couple of bad games and he got injured. And the season before he was fantastic. Like, sometimes people just want to create money and they don't realize about the implications. We're not going to get anyone better than Bobby O to come in after cutting him for the money. The way the prices are going now, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Like, middle of the road linebackers are getting 12, 13 mil a year. Do you mean we signed him to like what 4-year, $40 million deal or something? Like, I just don't get it. I mean, like, he's got 2 years left in the contract. I think he'll come back fit and he'll come back healthy and he'll be good again. So there's absolutely no way I'm entertaining anything about cuts or trades or anything like that. I just want to see a healthy Bobby out there with a green dot on his helmet, marshalling this defense.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange one. I'm just wondering if the Craig Giants jersey curse is starting to set in yet again, with him sitting just over my shoulder. Obviously, the Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley jersey debacles from last year are still raw in the memory. Shane's piped up. What's Alec Ogletree doing these days? I mean, less said about that, the best. Jordan Renan's just put out a tweet saying, here's where everything seems to stand at this point in the QB carousel. Rodgers is an option for the Giants and the Steelers and maybe the Vikings. Russell Wilson is an option for the Giants and Steelers and maybe the Titans. And Daniel Jones is an option for the Vikings and Colts. And he said, if Jones chooses the Colts, Rodgers becomes the option for the Vikings. That leaves Wilson for the Steelers and the Giants onto Winston. If Jones stays in Minnesota, it sounds like Rodgers lands with the Steelers, and that would likely send Wilson to the Giants. The Titans and the Browns are apparently lurking still with Russell Wilson, because apparently the Browns don't have enough quarterbacks already and just want more for the shits and giggles. So, as I said earlier, everything hinges on Daniel Jones, Kev.
It is crazy, like I saw a very funny tweet earlier when it was like, Daniel Jones needs to hurry up and make a decision because he's always been good at making quick decisions. It's like, I mean, it is interesting because it does affect this. We said dominoes will fall. I mean, Darnold was the biggest one when the Seattle Seahawks. No one saw that coming a couple of days ago, and then it was all the talk of social media the last couple of days. I would like to see him. I don't know whether I want to see him. I think the Colts would be a really good sort of situation for him, But then the Vikings have everything ready to go. A number one wide receiver like Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson at tight end. They've got some Addison, the other wide receiver. They've just got some really good pieces. And look how good they were last season, with Darnold. If he was made the starter there, I think we could see Daniel Jones playing very well with that team, to be honest.
I'm surprised that Daniel Jones didn't go to the Colts because, he does only look at his first read. So, yeah.
Where's Michael Pittman?
Yeah.
Throw it to Pittman.
Yeah. I mean, my kind of sense of it, like, okay, the Colts might be a possibly good move, but at the Vikings under Kevin O'Connell, who does like him, he can, whether he's going to be mentoring JJ McCarthy, I'm not sure. I mean, I believe that he's got, he's a smart kid. I mean, he went to Duke, but like, this is why I always questioned when we drafted him, like, who drafts quarterbacks from Duke? Because most of them that come out of Duke are basketball players. So, like, I don't want to get into that anyway. That's a very, very like deep cut in my Giants lifetime. But where he is right now, I think that's the best place for him. But if the Colts do go, like I said before, if the Colts do go for him to compete with, Anthony Richardson, who's just like, that is one of the most bizarre things that I seen last season, the way he fell off the cliff. Like, I thought he was going to be a decent quarterback. I mean, look at the size of him and the way he runs and stuff like that. He caused some defense is some real problems. But it was that obviously when he stepped to the sidelines and he timed out that caused a lot of controversy. But DJ right now for me probably is best where he's suited, which will be the Vikings. If he can stay there, depending on which quarterback does go in. I mean, there was talk about Rodgers going to the Vikings, but I think the Green Bay Packers would have a fan base would have a shit fit, and I think the Steelers is the best place for him, for Aaron Rodgers, like I said. So we'll see. I mean, look, it's been what since 4 p.m., maybe 5 p.m. today, and it's been, it's been an eventful day. Well, the Giants need to do more. Like, let's see who are we going to get in next as our veteran quarterback. Are we going to get a veteran quarterback? But I don't want Daniel Jones back at this, and I'm seeing comments already popping up saying, "Bring him home." Like, what are we doing? Like, we've just got the guy out of the house, and we're already asking. We've seen what it was like in Munich. We were there, all of us, right? And that was an awful game, and that for me convinced me enough that I don't know whether it's the organisation, I don't know, but he's just not, he's not the quarterback for us. We need someone that can launch that ball downfield, pick up the likes of Malik and like some of the other wide receivers as well, and give us that stability that hopefully we can win some games next season.
But just go back to your point, Craig. Sorry, like the Patriots have signed Josh Dobbs a 2-year, $8 million deal, and like Joe Milton's on like $900K. So they must be bringing him in. They must be shopping Milton now, because there's no way that they're going to have like all three quarterbacks on their roster. I think Josh Dobbs is a very similar type of player to Drake May. Obviously, Drake May's at different levels, but there's similar style of quarterbacks. So why not throw a little pick swap or a seventh rounder over to the Patriots to bring Joe Milton in for a season?
It is definitely interesting. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. Somehow that's flown by, considering we've had two pick or two signings so far. But yeah, I kind of there's part of me that just wants to kind of like just keep extending this and really milk it for all it is, to try and see if Daniel Jones can make a decision for once in his life and we can open things up. But obviously we might start scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to to conversational topics. Is there anything else you guys want to kind of talk about or focus on before we potentially wrap this up? Kev?
Sorry, yeah, no, I thought Chris would go there. No, I mean, just like this is the first day, we're going to make other signings. We have to make other signings. This roster has a lot of the holes in it, not just starters, but depth as well. So it'll be interesting to let the dust settle now. Let the first wave of free agency go. And then just, next time we come back on the podcast, we should have more. We should see the direction the team is going in, and we should also have a few more signings to talk about, and we can kind of see the lay of the land there. And we'll know, essentially, who will join Tommy DeVito in the quarterback room.
I think, again, like, obviously, going back over it, like Bobby Okereke, best option. Do we trade before the March 14th, or do we keep him? I think getting Paulson, Abido, smart signing, great CB depth. Roy Robinson, obviously reliable veteran depth signing. Talked about Will Howard before, although he had a struggle. Is that someone that we could potentially look at if we do coming back into the first round? And then another one that I was going to pick up on before, and I don't know if we didn't manage to talk about it, was Elise Ojulari. Is he worth keeping at the right price, or do we move on from him?
I mean, that's a great shout. Aziz, I haven't seen any news on anyone talking about Aziz as of yet. If you look at, we're not looking at the top edge guys, I wouldn't imagine. So you're probably looking sort of more down towards the lower edge side of things if we're going to pick up someone there. I mean, Cole Lawson, you've got down there, Brandon Graham, maybe as a veteran idea there. Just trying to see if there's anybody else. Preston Smith could be an option. but I don't think Aziz wants to come back. I kind of feel that Aziz is in the same sense as Slayton, in the fact that they're going to have options out there. I actually think that they would prefer to maybe just take one of those options over the Giants, even if the Giants matched it, just to get a cut away. Mainly because of the fact that they've been here for a few years and they've dealt with some of the issues that the Giants have had, but also, it's a fresh start for them, and I think that they almost need that.
Yeah, and like, I know he's still just 24 years old, and he has been a decent pass rush depth. I think his injury history, he's missed around about 16 games over 3 years. Obviously, the Giants need to prioritize the O-line, QB, and linebacker positions. But we maybe draft or sign a cheaper, more reliable pass rusher? I don't know. But if the price is right, 7.5 million or less, does bringing him back make sense? Otherwise, we explore those free agents or we draft someone else. Is my sort of like thoughts on it.
Indeed. Unfortunately, that is kind of all the time we've got for this evening. Knowing our luck, 5 minutes after this, we stop, everything will go mental, and we'll end up having to rush back. But hopefully myself and Kev will be back later on in the week just to cover any deals that do go through over the next few days. And if not, we'll try and put together some sort of instant reaction, little small sort of YouTube things for you guys to give our thoughts. Worst case scenario, we will be back next week where we will wrap up, kind of, do a roundup of all of the free agency deals, have a chat. Hopefully we'll have Shane back with us next week as well. And then once that's done, I suppose we get into top 5 prospects, which is I think Kev's chomping at the bit really to start talking about some of these. We're going to start off on offensive line as well, so Shane can get his least favourite out of the way straight away. Kev, Chris, anything to add before we disappear?
No, just really good to be back on, lads. I'm so glad Chris was able to come on with us this evening. He's a good lad. He knows his stuff, and he's a great addition this evening. And cheers for coming on, mate.
No, it's been a pleasure. Been dying to get this podcast for ages. It's just, again, like just talking about what we love about the Giants, all things Giants. Hopefully we can move forward. But I've had a great time tonight. It's been fun. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Chris. It was a last minute kind of plea deal to get you to come on. But yeah, it's been great to have you on. And obviously, all the viewers and listeners, let us know. Obviously, if you like this kind of thing, we do have instances where work gets in the way, and it's either myself and Kev or Shane, or Dan and Kevin, and Kev or Shane. So we're always happy to sort of add people in. And obviously, if there is anyone out there who is listening or watching who fancies coming on and doing this with us for an hour and a half one evening, then just reach out. We're more than happy to have people on, especially just to give everyone an opportunity, especially from a UK and Ireland perspective, where we can kind of give out more to the listeners and get a different perspective, because we are talking about a football game that's not played in our country, and talking about players who, there are very few British people over there, despite the fact that the Giants seem to hoard a lot of them with Jude and Jamie and Graham, and then also Illuminor as well. As always, remember to like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can hit the bell at the bottom to be notified of when we do go live. And if you aren't already, follow us on the socials in the description down below. My thanks do go to Kev and to Chris for joining me tonight, plus all of you watching or listening. We are signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.